Hey, so your name, what do you do? Jordan?
Um, well, my name is Llan Sheady. I'm a horror illustrator. Um, I work from Germany, but remotely I work for companies like Arrow Video, 88 Films, um, Raven Banner in Canada, and quite a few German distribution labels doing packaging for collectors' Blu-rays.
Damn.
Yeah. It's the dream. I've had the dream of doing this ever since I was a kid, going into video shops, seeing like the really cool VHS horror art. So yeah, I'm fulfilling that dream.
That's that's awesome. It's funny we both have a
Yeah,
drink, but
yeah, we need it now.
one is to one is to wake you up, and this is to make me not want to cough up my insides. So you said, being a kid, seeing all the horror movie covers and everything, is that what initially got you started wanting to do it, or was it just one specific movie that made you like, this looks awesome? Like,
I,
what got you started?
I mean, it's hard to. I never saw it as a potential career when I was a kid. I was just super into horror. My dad worked at a newspaper recycling plant or a magazine recycling plant, and when he used to come home, he used to walk through this massive warehouse of stuff that were about to be recycled, and he'll just pull magazines that looked cool, and he'd like come home and he'd throw a pile in the middle of the room. So go on, kids, like, get what you want. And like there'd be like Fangoria magazine, Dark Side magazine. So I'd like scoop up all the horror stuff, going through, looking at the film cover art or the poster art, not knowing what the films were, and just thinking these look ace, these look amazing, and you have to make up your own idea of what the stories were because it just looked so cool. And then, obviously, in the 80s, there was loads of video shops with all sorts of interesting covers. And I just used to love staring at them. And like I said, never saw it as a career. And to be honest, when I was a kid, I didn't even see it as art. I thought these were photographs. It's like you look at them now and you can tell it's painted. But at the time, I thought that was legitimate photography or something. Um, and yeah, it was only years later when I went for a career in art that I saw it as being a profession. Um, Still didn't feel like I was going to be doing film covers because I don't know if you remember, but in the 2000s, everything was photoshopped. Everything was like the Scream posters or the I Know What You Did Last Summer
Yeah.
posters, where it was just everyone photoshopped on the cover. But I seem to have started doing this at the right time because there seems to be like a renaissance when it comes to classic or digitally created, hand created, but hand appeared art style
Yeah.
film covers.
Seeing all your stuff, is it all hand painted? Like you get a canvas and you
Oh
do the whole thing,
God,
or
no, sorry. Yeah, I realized as I was talking, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna make out that I pull out paints each time. No, I am traditionally trained, but I think because I went through a, a process of working with a lot of designers and there's a lot of art directors when I first started working for myself. Um, they have a lot of amends and they have a lot of things that they wanted to change and stuff like that. And in the end, it just became a lot simpler and a lot easier to be able to handle things from scratch digitally. So, and I'd always preempt knowing that I might need to change this at some point. And I think it means that now that I'm working with the big clients like Arrow, when I provide the artwork for them, I already have like variants and alternatives and stuff in mind, and the files can be used in other formats. So, I see a lot of my work gets like the spot UV treatment and stuff like that because the graphics are already isolated, which I think kind of like stands a lot of my work aside in the collector's shelf. It has this nice kind of like gloss sheen to some of the blade elements and stuff like that. Um, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I would love to be able to have the time to do like hand painted stuff. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to talk to or look at Rick Melton's artwork or Graham Humphrey's. you know, amazing artists, absolutely amazing artists, traditional artists, and they can show you the original painting, but unfortunately, I don't have the time that I could invest in doing a single piece of work that to the book that I work at.
Damn. So yeah, it makes sense to especially with like high end clients. You already, like you said, you already have it in mind that they might want to change it. So it makes sense to show different sketches and to just
Hmm.
build off of whatever the fuck they pick. So yeah,
No,
that makes sense.
no,
What happened?
totally. Yeah, it works for me because the thing is as well, like when I factored because the budget for a lot of these titles aren't as large as people might assume that they are. I have to be very very tight in my turnaround for the work, and when you
Yeah.
consider as well that I like to when I get a film request, I like to sit down and watch the film multiple times before I even start working on the final work. Even if it's a film like I just recently did a cover for Return of the Living Dead, and I see that film like 100 times, but never with the context of well, I need to do a cover for this now. So I had to sit down and watch it and just take little notes over what visuals I kind of like really wanted to pull out and what kind of, but then also kind of like looking into what have other people done because I don't want to do something that other artists have done. And Return of the Living Dead, I bet as soon as I said that, you had like several covers that
Yeah.
immediately came to mind because it's so iconic. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that I did something that was unique, that stood out, and um, and to do that, yeah, you got to do your research. So I spend an entire day just like watching the film over and over, listening to the soundtrack. I watch a lot of YouTubers talking about the film, just so I can get an idea of well, what you know, because I know what I love about the film, but maybe like somebody will say, you know, this is the best moment, you know, or this is the most important moment, and I always try to think, well, what can I do for the fans? And then after I spend a day just watching everything I can about the film, then it's jumping into work. And I like to get things finished in like 3 to 4 days if possible. But with the Return of the Living Dead artwork that I did recently, it was a behemoth of a task. And I wanted to make sure it was because it's like I don't know if I'm ever going to get requested to do Return of the Living Dead again. So if I'm only going to do one image for it, I wanted it to be epic. So yeah, that one took me about 2 weeks to do in total, non-stop zombie drawing.
Out of all of the covers, out of all the work that you've done, which one has to be your favorite?
Um, I mean, it's impossible not to mention like the Terrifier stuff, mainly because I feel like Terrifier as a franchise has um, cropped up around the same time that my career started, working with the art, working on horror art, and I'm also a co-founder of the Liverpool Horror Club, where we do screenings regularly uh, in Liverpool, and we used to, you know, pick either a new film or a classic film, and we'd screen the movie, and I'd do a poster for it, you know, just because it was fun, and we heard about this film called Terrifier that looked pretty cool. We didn't know much about it, but it sounded cool. So one evening, we you know me and the other guys who run the club sat down to watch it, and like within like 10-15 minutes, we're like, oh, yeah, we were screening this. And I contacted Damien and David, and they were both because it was like I said, it was right at the beginning. They were up for doing like a live stream, like a live streamed interview at the screening. Um, and yeah, it went really well. It was really fun. It was great to see, you know, this cool horror film, kind of like doing the rounds, doing really really well. But then shortly after that, that was when I moved to Germany, and I started doing a lot of it started trickling in. I was getting actual commissioned film projects. Um, and uh, funny enough, I was in France last year, and this is during the time when people were still talking about the idea that there was going to be a Terrifier 2, but no one knew anything happening in the film. Like, it was like, we just know that he's gonna make one. He must do. And I was in Annecy, in France. I just proposed to my now wife, which was already exciting. And then when I got home, I found an email from my German client who does a Nameless, who distribute a lot of these cult movies and the bespoke packaging in Germany. I got an email from them saying, "Are you up for doing a film called Terrifier 2?" And I'm like, "Yes. Is there a link?" And they were like, "Yeah, here you go." And it's like, and suddenly there's the film. Like the full film is like a linked on my laptop. And I'm like, and I just got engaged. But I was like, I've got a copy of Terrifier 2. This is amazing. And then I think when and then they requested specifically that they wanted 3 covers. They didn't want just the one. They want me to do 3 covers, which I did. They also asked, they wanted a death on the front of each of the 3, which I was like, all right, let's watch this film then. And I was like, oh, I can tell which ones they want. But then after I did that, they said they look great, but can you add another one? But this time make it as gory and as violent as you possibly could. And I'm like, oh, all right. And it's the funny thing is, in the UK, there's a, where I'm from, there's a bit more. I don't know. Everything. You can't put blood on things. You can't show boobs or you can't. I don't know. It seems, because of how they're sold in shops and in supermarkets, everyone's a bit kind of. I don't know. I don't know what the right word is, but they're a bit that. And but Germany is not. Germany is still in that exploitation period where it's like, oh yeah, we want, like, even if I've had some film covers requests where it's like, we want the person naked, and it's like, but she's not naked in the movie. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, I feel really weird because like the actress might see this. It's like, she won't. It's like, oh, all right. Are you sure about this? And the funny thing is, because because of the collector's market in Germany, it's really intense. I've never seen a collector's market like the German media book collector's market. Like, the films sell out before they're released, so they never get into shops. They, like, the distributor will be like, okay, here is the title. It's going to be available for on the shelf on this day in March or something, but it's going to be available on pre-sale tomorrow for only 1 day, and they'll all sell out. So because of that, they know they don't need to pander to kind of what the shops want on their shelves. They can do whatever they want, and as violent and as gory and as sexually charged as possible, because they're the ones that the collectors know, well, that one's going to get banned. So I want that. So yeah, so I was told, can you do a cover for Terrifier 2 that's as violent and as brutal as possible? And I did, obviously, the bedroom scene, but I was like full on like scalping and I don't know if you've seen it. It's on my Instagram somewhere.
I think I see it. Yeah.
Some of your chat was saying that I was probably in Instagram jail. If I was going to be in Instagram jail, it's because of that cover, because it was like super violent. And yeah, when that one was revealed, like, amongst the German Blu-ray collectors, they were like, "Oh, that's the one I want." But then I got an email from Damien saying, "Dude, that's horrible. I love it." So and I was like, "Oh, I'm really glad you like it." And then we started talking about the artwork and what was happening over in Germany and stuff. And it was because of that cover, he contacted me when he wanted the poster for Terrifier 3 doing. So in terms of the film artwork that I love doing the most, and the one that's the most important to me, I feel like that gory cover for Terrifier 2 is probably the one that's yeah, it's high up in my heart.
It sounds like you got a really special place for the Terrifier series, which,
Totally.
hey, I don't blame you.
It's both. I
Damn.
mean, it's it's such a refreshing franchise as well. I mean, it. I think a lot of films were getting a bit generic, either or hitting that mainstream kind of like feel to it. We were seeing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect James Wan. I love what he managed to achieve as a horror director, but I feel like I miss some of that non-safe movie where it's like trying to be something that's gory, violent, twisted, funny, but definitely memorable and definitely inspiring in terms of kind of special effects and horror creativity. Basically the stuff that got me into horror in the first place. So when Terrifier cropped up the first one, and obviously you've seen the film, it's very bare bones. You know what I mean? It's like it's the most simplest of storyline. It's barely a plot, but there was watching it. There's something so genuine and so fun, but also quite scared. That's quite terrifying about it. Um, so I was like, yeah, I love this. I want more of this. I think this should be interesting. So seeing it grow into what it is, seeing that Terrifier 2 hit the cinemas around the States, and I think the final figure was like it made like 16 million in the box office. Is
Oh, I don't remember.
it's unheard of. So yeah, Terrifier 2 and Terrifier as a franchise is like the underdog story that we all want from horror.
So you're originally from, uh, uh, I'm sorry, you said Liverpool or where was it?
Yeah, I'm from the UK originally, um, uh, and which we had the which I like because we had the video nasties era over there, which I do feel like basically highlighted and gave me a list of horror films that the government don't want me to watch. Um, I feel like that list alone was probably one of the reasons that I wanted to get as into and as dedicated to horror as I am. So yeah, having the government tell you don't watch these horror films is the best thing that ever happens to horror films. Um,
Sounds
and
about right.
then yeah, and then yeah, 8 years ago, I met who is my wife. Mariam's my wife now. She lived in Germany, but she was American. So when I met her, she was talking like an American, and I was like, oh, someone's gonna scoop me up out of this this little English town or little English city. So, bigger, brighter life and a brighter future. And in the end, even though she was American, she lived in Germany. So I was like, oh well, I'll move anyway. So moved to Germany 6 years ago, just before Brexit. I'm not making that the topic in this, but yeah, just got here in the cut off. And the funny thing is, moving here, seeing the film landscape in Germany, it's so much weirder, and there's so much more obscure 80s horror films that I have never seen get like a Blu-ray release, but they're huge here. The definition of what a cult movie in Germany is very different to the UK or America. So there's some really bizarre films that get like the special 4K deluxe editions, and like I said, they have new custom art made for a lot of these films for the collectors. So it's a gold mine for somebody wanting the career that I have wanted. Moving to Germany at this time when, like, for example, Dawn of the Dead just became like unbanned for the first time ever in Germany only a couple of years ago.
The
There's
original or the
the
remake?
original
Oh,
zombie flesh eaters being released, I think, for the first time ever. Well, not ever. They did attempt to release it on VHS in the 80s, but it was swiftly banned. But it's being unbanned for the first time since then, and my artwork is going to be a Blu-ray cover for it. So it's kind of like it's a good time to be a part of horror history over here in Germany. Yeah, I mean, I've done zombie flesh eaters. I've done cannibal ferox. Some pretty great classic video nasties being released for the first time, and yeah, I get to have that artwork. So it's good times.
Telling me, hey, damn, I didn't know that many movies were actually being banned over there before. I really didn't know anything about that. Only reason I found out, I sent something to a past guest, Eleanor Black. We sent her some stuff, and she said like, "Oh, it can't have blood. It can't have this. Can't have this." I didn't know it was like that crazy, where he was just
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, they can't have none of that."
yeah. I think if you look at, according to the German system, again, I'm going off secondhand information from people. The some of the violence and gore and cannibalism is a big one as well. They label the pornographic in the classical sense of the word, I guess. So yeah, they're like, no. As soon as another human eats another human or bites into another human, or whether they're a zombie or not, ban it. It's not allowed. So there was, as you can imagine, there's like hundreds of movies that never got distribution in Germany. Um, so yeah, like I said, now people are going to court to change the ruling, and so for the first time, like I said, for the first time ever, they're getting. It's weird because it means that they go from like some sort of dodgy VHS tape to 4K with nothing in the middle. It just kind of like completely explodes into kind of like high quality 4K editions with special features and everything. So it's interesting times. It's really, really exciting.
That sounds like that would be a trip, going from just like you said, dodgy VHS to just 4K. You're gonna notice so much more.
Yeah,
Like, damn, I
yeah.
didn't know she got bit right there. I didn't know this was happening over here. Or this. That's damn. That's crazy. I never would have thought about that.
Zombie Flesh Eaters is a perfect example of that because I remember in the UK when Zombie Flesh Eaters was banned, and people used to kind of like when you were in school, like slide tapes under the table to each other because like, oh, I found this, and there was that famous scene with the eyeball and the piece of wood going towards it, and
Oh, okay, I remember that one.
yeah, somebody would like me a video and say, "Yo, you got to watch this." In this edition, like the wood like touches the eye, and it's like no, and you put it on, watch the whole film again just to see that scene, and then you go like, "Oh my god, it does touch it," and then somebody else goes, "Oh, I found this copy. This time it like goes into the eye," and it's like, "Oh my god." I mean, watch that. Oh, so cool. And then somebody go like, "Oh, this one it breaks off in her skull," and I'm like, "Oh, what the hell?" It's like, how far does this stuff go? But that's how these underground dodgy copies of VHS films worked. You know, it's like you'd have like somebody somewhere would attempt to distribute it completely uncut, or somebody would have one where they were trying to dodge the ratings boards, the censorship board, by having it cut a little bit too soon. It was crazy. But like I said, now in Germany, it went from this is disallowed and could never be seen to okay, here's your 4K edition.
That's a hell of a jump. I'm wondering. There's a couple of movies. I'm wondering if they're even allowed over there. It would be one, Faces of Death, and Cannibal Holocaust.
Faces of Death. Yes, there's. It's been out a few years here because I think the guy I don't want to mention the label that released it because he's a but he got the license to be able to release it. I think he was part of the legal battle to get it unbanned, and he sells a special edition with like a bust of the guy being being electrocuted. Yeah, so it's like they went hardcore on it. It's yeah, it was really interesting. Again, coming over here and seeing someone's done a bust edition of Faces of Death. I mean, it's really strange.
Oh my God.
It's such a different culture in terms of kind of like what people, what like I said, what the collectors market does over here.
Oh hell yeah! Well, being over here, me personally, I'm desensitized. Like for me, my wife, we're so used to seeing it growing up with on the top of my head, Hellraiser, Tales from the Crypt. Like I said, Cannibal Holocaust, Faces of Death. Just all those movies. I've just been desensitized. That's why I terrify. I giggle. Like it's just me. Like my mom was around still, she would be laughing her ass off. So yeah, those just us. That's so damn crazy to find that out over there.
Mm. It's one hell of a trip. Like I said, you come over here to the music stores where they sell the Blu-rays on the shelves, and it's such a strange time capsule because it's like an alternative universe where different films struck a chord. Different horror films became iconic, and I really like it. Like I said, like it means I get a chance to live the new golden years. But at the same time, the good thing is I've got like clients in America, Canada, and the UK, like Arrow, for example, who they've been releasing these things for years, and they have some of the the best special features and best editions as well. So yeah, it's nice to be a part of film history internationally.
Yeah, pretty. I was about to say you are a part of horror history, movie history now, with all your covers being like put out there. Even the I think the last one I seen on for your post was the Evil Dead Trap.
Yeah, Evil Dead Trap. It's being released next month, I think, by 88 Films. I love that. I've always loved Evil Dead Trap, the first one. It was such a great film, and I got requested that like during my wedding. So I was like, oh man, this is the best day ever.
For
um,
multiple reasons.
yeah. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Evil Dead Trap. So being able to do the cover for that, it's interesting as well because and no one's confirmed this to me, but a lot of Japanese and Hong Kong horror movies are being released at the moment. I don't know if some new contract or some new license with the original studios, the Asian studios, has changed. But the last few years, I've done loads of Hong Kong titles and Japanese movie titles too. So yeah, again, I don't know what's happening in the film landscape. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes regarding that. But I think in America, I'm probably more known for doing Hong Kong titles, Hong Kong Blu-ray titles, than I am for horror. But in Germany and the UK, I'm definitely, and in Canada as well, I'm definitely like a horror guy.
Nice. Well, you're known for your work, and it's only gonna get better, man. Just holy. There was one thing I started doing not too long ago, called a crude question. This one was suggested. When it comes down to Jason Voorhees, do you think he's a top or a bottom?
Oh my god. I mean, he's 100% top because I can't imagine him being in a position below anyone. He's just, I don't know. Yeah. I feel like it'd be strange to be behind him. I don't know. It's like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh
He's
God,
top. I wasn't expecting this question, but if I have to answer, gun to my head, I would assume that he's a top. I hope I haven't hurt.
It's okay. I didn't know what question to ask, and it was suggested. I was like, "Oh, that's amazing! I have to hear this." Oh God, I'm sorry. It cut off for a second. I didn't hear what you said.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But yeah. So that's what did you think? Well, how did you answer that one?
What did I think about Jason being a top or a bottom?
Yeah.
Same thing. He looks like a giver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say he's a selfish lover. You know.
Yeah. It seems like it.
He's a selfish lover. He doesn't care about your needs.
We are out of time. I know it was a pain trying to get you on here, dude.
I'm sure it's my fault somehow, and I apologize. And about it.
It's probably not just your fault. It's probably internet, IG, whatever the fuck it is. But it was wonderful talking to you, man.
Oh yeah, good talking to you as well. Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a blast. But sorry you're ill. But if it makes you feel better, it doesn't come across. It doesn't come across as you being ill.
Well, you're perfectly fine. Any shout outs or like anywhere anybody could like reach you if anybody's seeing this, you want to commission him for a cover or whatever?
On Instagram, I'm Uncle Frank Productions. If you want to see any of my stuff or comment, I've got a website, Uncle Frank Productions, as well. If you're interested in buying any of my stuff, in America, there's a shop called The Belial, who's also on Instagram. He actually sells quite a lot of Uncle Frank Blu-ray covers, Blu-rays with my artwork on the covers. In the States, so that's probably the best way of getting some of the German films. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, you know, I always happy to see comments, and I try to reply to everyone on my Instagram, and yeah, just send some nice comments. I love hearing it.
Well, you heard him. You know where to go. I'm gonna look into it, and I'm gonna put that in all the information for YouTube as well. So, like I said, this is going to be on YouTube. So remember, like, subscribe, play with my bells to stay notified. If you do it right, maybe I will feel a good tingle. Hey, maybe he will too. If I know.
I mean, if Jason's the top, yes.
Well, Jason's the top, so that's a yes. Also, go check out the Patreon behind the scenes. Uncensored comic strips are going to be going on there. A lot of goodies for patrons. You know, some stuff for free. Anybody wants to go and support us, you can. You don't want to, completely up to you. Just like, share, whatever for YouTube. Scary Stories, Spotify, Dead and Laughing Show, Live with the Afterlife. They're all true stories, so anybody watching, you guys can go check those out. What the fuck else? I know there was something else. Oh, go check out the gameplays for that's going to be on YouTube. Just did some yesterday and Wednesday. So, oh god, it's a pain, but they're fun. Other than that, yeah, maybe we'll do this again sometime, and hopefully Instagram doesn't like get up.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. By the looks of it, it's been remedied. So we should be good to go anytime in the future if you want to chat. It's always fun talking to you.
Hell yeah, I'll put it for like a later time so you have more time to sleep in.
All right. I appreciate it.
No problem. Bye.
See you guys.